Oh, the doctors, the beloved doctors. I've been waiting to get to you, so I'll just start with America's frontline doctors. Remember when they stepped onto the world stage, on the steps, in front of the Supreme Court, in true dramatic fashion? Remember how we took that bait? Finally, some doctors on our side of all this madness. Not so fast. Let's take a deeper look. First of all, I want you just to notice just how contrived these scenes are when I begin to unravel what is actually happening behind the scenes. I also want to say that I'm a recovering conspiracy theorist, meaning that I fell for a lot of stuff, and I'm in a place where I refuse to fall for any of these psyops. I look deep into their connections. I look deep into where the money's coming from and things of that nature. So when I'm telling you that I don't trust something, it's because A, my God-given discernment, B, I've dug really, really deep into their connections, and C, I can see the tactics clearly because all the enemy does is just copy and paste in all of the different factions of deception. So let's dig in, shall we? So again, they stepped out on the world stage with the White Coat Summit. It's organized by Gold in conjunction with the Tea Party Patriots. Yes, we fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, but not so fast. Let's go back and let's see what this really was all about. How did Dr. Gold, who was not famous at the time, get in with the Tea Party Patriots and have it broadcasted by Breitbart News? And who are the Tea Party Patriots? First, let's point out the fact that within hours, the video had reached over 20 million Facebook users. But yeah, they want us to believe it was totally grassroots. Right. So whether you love or hate Trump is irrelevant because I want to get one thing straight. The Koch brothers absolutely loathe Donald Trump. Here's a few articles with the names being the Koch brothers found one thing they hate more than Donald Trump. This is how much the Koch brothers hate Donald Trump, why the Koch brothers don't support Donald Trump, and Koch brothers lead billionaire resistance against Donald Trump. And there's many, many more where this came from. They also have mutual goals with Soros. So at this point, we can probably all agree that anything funded by the Kochs is probably not to benefit Trump or we the people, right? So America's frontline doctors walked in with the affiliation with the Tea Party Patriots. The Tea Party Patriots is run with the help of Freedom Works. Freedom Works supposedly aligns with Donald Trump, but the parent organization is Citizens for a Sound Economy. And Citizens for a Sound Economy was established by Charles and David Koch. Before I go on, I need to stress how profound this is and why I focus on the enemy within. The Kochs hate Trump, which means they hate you for supporting him. And even if you don't support him, if you like his policies or anything he stands for, they hate you. And they have their hands in so many think tanks and the funds to carry it all out. So it's not absurd or outlandish to think that they could be behind all of these controlled opposition networks. And what they've basically done is become the face of their enemy. And we've witnessed over the past 2 years what that looks like. So they formed in 2019, which is suspicious all on its own, with the parent organization of Free Speech Foundation. Upon searching for their business documents, I found this. You can see online too, Free Speech Foundation for America's Frontline Doctors. And I found it on this tax document. The name of the organization was Donors Trust. So what is Donors Trust? Well, Donors Trust is an American nonprofit donor advised fund. So founded in 1999 with the goal of safeguarding the intent of donors. And it's not legally required to disclose the identity of its donors, and most of its donors remain anonymous. It distributes funds to various conservative organizations and has been characterized as the dark money ATM of the political right. Lovely. Flynn is deep state, and I call him the Lieutenant General of the Color Revolution. And if you see here on his Flynn Intel Group roster, you'll see James Woolsey, who was the director of the CIA under Clinton, and is also listed on the Council on Foreign Relations, and was also one of the key players on the Dark Winter exercise, which was basically like a mock pandemic. And who props up these disinformation doctors? Flynn and his entire network. So it is my belief that the Kochs and Mercers are funding it and Flynn is leading it. I found this article talking about J6, and the Tea Party Patriots were among the 11 groups listed on the March to Save America, the quote pro-Trump rally that led to J6. Now, I'm a believer that Flynn was completely behind J6, and he used groups like these and many more, including the militias like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, to carry out the insurrection that we witnessed on TV. I've dug into about half of these groups listed here, and I can tell you that they all lead back to Flynn, Kochs, and Mercers. The Kochs and the Mercers are the Soros domestically on the right. So we've got the affiliation with the Kochs at the Tea Party Patriots, and we have it recorded by Breitbart, which is basically funded by Robert Mercer. And they pride themselves on being pro-freedom and pro-Israel. Don't forget that Steve Bannon is also affiliated with Breitbart, and Milo was too before he condoned pedophilia. Bannon was an early backer, but shortly after Andrew's death, he was appointed executive chairman. Bannon is also part of CNP, which is basically the right-wing domestic version of the Council of Foreign Relations, who have other members like the Koch brothers, the Devos, and other billionaires who have invested heavily in developing a complex web of far-right groups and think tanks. The Kochs and the Mercers bankrolled Project Veritas, very shocking. And Robert Mercer is also the co-chairman of Renaissance Technologies, whose founder contributed $11 million to Hillary Clinton. The Mercers also funded Parler and Cambridge Analytica. Remember that scandal? Yep, the same Parler that leaked all of your data. Who currently has the CEO as Candace Owens' husband. And there's Charlie Kirk in the back, who's also in the CNP, and also has ties to the Koch brothers. Surprise, surprise. They have all these think tanks, and they're in all these secret organizations, and the Mercers are tied to the Kochs, and they're both tied to Bannon, and the frontline doctors are tied to Breitbart, and Bannon, and the Kochs, and the Mercers, and they all hate Trump, but pretend they don't. So I think we're going to need some more red string. So no matter how much they try to push Bannon down our throat, let's remember that Trump had less than favorable things to say about him, even calling him sloppy Steve Bannon multiple occasions. Bannon was also part of an effort to provide other Republican candidates with the fuel they needed to take Trump down. See what I mean? When they try to align themselves with Trump, but they will stab him in the back at the very first chance they get, because that's always been their goal. This article I found about the CNP highlighted a few different people. So apparently Jenny Beth Martin, who is the co-founder of the Tea Party's Patriots and helped Simone Gold get on the scene, is also part of the CNP. And she's the one who orchestrated the promotion of the hydroxychloroquine and the White Coat Summit. On December 10th, the CNP leadership released a letter calling on legislators to throw out votes. Now, what is their motive for that? Because they are not Trump supporters. Was it to stoke civil war? I don't know. And then finally, they are the ones who helped organize the insurrection on January 6th. Yes, the insurrection that was planned by Flynn and his minions as an attack on the American people to make you afraid to stand up and protest for your right to a free and fair election, which is part of the whole political prisoner psyop. But lo and behold, Ali Alexander was a former CNP member, and Michael Flynn, who appeared on the CNP's staff roster. Let's circle back to Simone Gold. In the second paragraph here, which has been archived because she completely scrubbed it from the internet, she said she had a lifelong interest in health policy and worked in Washington, D.C. for former Surgeon General Koch, the same Surgeon General during the AIDS epidemic. The one who Fauci said that he always seems to do what is the most correct, honorable, and appropriate thing for the health of the nation. Does anyone know what happened during the AIDS epidemic? Well, Fauci did the same thing he did to us during COVID. He botched it, and he did it so Big Pharma could profit. But don't worry, that didn't stop Everett Koop from giving him an award for it. No wonder America's sweetheart didn't want us to know that she worked for him, and it was an honor to do so. I know. People change. Maybe she just didn't know at the time. I want to add a quick point that Florida Surgeon General is actually on America's frontline doctors as well. I want to know if you'd recognize propaganda if it slapped you in the face. Let's watch a short clip.
It started with a choice: save a patient's life or save her own job. It turned into an explosive event, daring to speak the truth that the government wanted to hide. It ended with a judge throwing a brave doctor with no criminal record into federal prison for 60 days on a misdemeanor trespass. A shocking and unprecedented miscarriage of justice This despicable act has crossed the line. J6 is a fraudulent and fascist political weapon, and this absurd prison sentence is the ominous...
I'm sorry, that's about all I can bear. And her little jail pigtails and her jail push-up challenge just makes me want to vomit, because she does deserve to be in jail, but she deserves to be in jail for treason, for running psychological operations on American people, because she was in the Capitol that day. She was part of the insurrection operation that day. Her and her creative director, John Herbert Stern, boyfriend, and everyone pushing it and everyone funding it, like Eric Metaxas. Notice how he was also in 2,000 Mules, like Joe Flynn, pushing more propaganda videos, like all the rest of the blue check marks that took their marching orders and ran with it, and the entire network that propped her up and pushed her out as the propaganda that she is, like Pat Robertson on the Christian Broadcasting Network, or like Alex Jones on his InfoWars network, because the networks reveal themselves if you know what you're looking for. And once you figure one out, it's just a copy and paste in whatever group they're targeting, whether it be the Christian network, mainstream conspiracy, far out conspiracy, new age, blue collar, military, medical freedom. Whatever it is that they're targeting, they've already collected your data and know exactly how to manipulate you, and they have the funds to carry out the most egregious psychological operations on you, the American people, and they are laughing about it behind closed doors. Make no mistake. Sure, did she give you some correct information about therapeutics? Yeah, she did, and she also laughed all the way to the bank as she charged you an arm and a leg for it. Stop trusting these people and start digging into their backgrounds and who is funding them, what in the world their real motives are, because I promise you it is nothing good.